for the Santa Rosa chapter of Organizing for Action. On behalf of all the hard-working, dedicated local volunteers, I would like to welcome you to this Leadership Summit. We are delighted to be joined by OFA teams from the entire Northern California area. We have folks from Sacramento, Walnut Creek, San Francisco, North Peninsula, Silicon Valley, Marin, Sonoma, and Sebastopol. Who'd I leave out? Okay. Oakland, there we go. Most of the folks in this room worked very hard to re-elect our president by volunteering, donating, working out of state, and supporting the president in conversations with neighbors and friends in our backyards, on our Facebook pages, and even on Twitter. A phrase I often heard throughout the campaign was that volunteers came for the president and stayed for the people. That was sure the way it worked for me. Our team became a family because we worked hard, made thousands of phone calls, and shared our personal stories. Today, I'd like to share my reasons for working with OFA. My grandparents came to this country from the Azores, which are small islands off the coast of Portugal. They moved to Northern California where they worked a small farm for 40 years. My mother entered school speaking only Portuguese. There was no ESL program, so she was labeled as slow and stubborn. Since she attended a one-room school with only 2 teachers, the label stuck through her 8th grade year. My mother did not attend a single day of high school. Instead, she worked on the farm and eventually went to work and live in a home of a wealthy family where she cooked, cleaned children. My mother was embarrassed by her lack of education, and this haunted her entire life. She married my father and never worked outside the home again. She was convinced she couldn't get a job because she didn't have a high school diploma. She was always afraid she would say the wrong thing and people would know she hadn't gone to high school. As a young girl growing up, I knew I wanted a life that was very different from my mother's. Today I work as a full-time instructor at Santa Rosa Junior College. It is a dream job. And even after working there for 24 years, sometimes I pinch myself to make sure this really is my life. I do not have this job because I am smarter or more hardworking than my mother. I have this job and I have this life because I am extremely well educated. Earning a bachelor's and master's degrees opened doors and gave me confidence. I have not been hired on every job I applied for, but I've always had the credentials to get an interview. I do not always express myself as clearly as I like, and I don't always do well in front of crowds, but I always give it a shot. I work for OFA because education is important to me. But so is immigration, the budget, gun violence, and issues that affect our environment. I work for OFA because I can. I work for OFA because in the 60s and 70s, there were so many people that worked to open doors for me. I work for OFA to open doors for young men and women who seek a life that is very different than their parents. My story is typical of most OFA volunteers. We all have compelling reasons for supporting President Obama. I hope that after you leave this meeting, you will take the time to get to know the members of our local OFA, share your story, and listen to theirs. Now let's talk about the agenda. On the chairs, when you sat down, you found an agenda, and I just want to review it quickly with you. We're going to begin with John Carson, the Executive Director of OFA, who will share the big picture and his vision for this new organization. Then he'll open it up for a Q&A session. Next, we'll have Ivan Frischberg, the Climate Manager, who will also have prepared remarks and then open it up for Q&A. Finally, we have Brandon Keating, the Western Regional Field Organizer, who will discuss customizing OFA's plans to the needs of the Bay Area and each individual chapter. After Brandon's remarks and another Q&A session, we will break out into discussion groups to plan next steps. How's that sound? Good. Let's get to know our first speaker. John Carson is the Executive Director of Organizing for Action. Carson was previously the Director of the White House Office of Public Engagement, OPE, until January of 2013. Before leading OPE, he served as the Chief of Staff at the White House Council on Environmental Quality. Prior to joining the administration, Carson was the National Field Director for President Barack Obama's campaign in 2008 and worked on the Obama transition team. John also served in the Peace Corps in southern Honduras for 2 years, building rural water systems for villages. He graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Platteville with a BS in Civil and Environmental Engineering and received a master's degree in geography from the University of California, Los Angeles. It is an honor to have him here in Santa Rosa, and I know you will join me in giving him a warm Bay Area welcome.